Assalamu alaikum, everyone. We're back today with Sheikh Khaled Jamil live from Najaf. Alhamdulillah, he's graced us with his presence today to help us talk about the topic and continue what we were talking about last time, Tawheed. We're going to continue about Tawheed because, once again, it is, if not the most important topic that we have to discuss. And if our foundation in Tawheed is not strong enough, nothing else would really matter, because this is the foundation of our faith. So thank you, Sheikh Khaled, for coming. Joining us today, and let's continue where we left off last time.
Inshallah, ahsantum sayyidina, ahsantum, barakallah feekum. A quick recap. Last week we spoke about the concept of Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lah. And we covered the concept of Ashhadu, meaning to bear witness. And we touched upon a few things, Sayyidina, if you remember them. We said, first and foremost, what is Ashhadu? What does it mean to bear witness? And we broke it down into three definitions. The first we says is that bearing witness in the general sense of the term, and that is what we take through our fitrah, through our basic intrinsic intuition, instincts, call it what you wish, that drives us to search for the creator of the heavens and earth. Now, when I say the heavens, I mean the heavens in the old term, as in meaning the skies, the creator of the universe, and the earth. And that is something that we, as we said, that is something that we gain through multiple avenues, mainly through our upbringing, through our community, through our surrounding, through our parents, through our schools, However, it is still a basic intrinsic part of us to search for that creator. The second thing, which is what we call the educated ideology. The educated ideology is that the individual who studies and believes based upon proofs and concepts and theories, such as the proof of the order within the universe, so on and so forth. I can't recall all of them right now. There are multiple proofs. Nonetheless, based on educated understanding, educated studies. And then we said that the third part, which is the witness, or the highest level, first and foremost, and is the witness of insight. Not sight, but insight. The difference between sight and insight is very clear. Sight is what you perceive with your own eyes, insight you perceive within your heart. That being said, we narrated a narration for our Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib sallallahu wasallam alayhi, where he is asked by one of his companions, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, have you seen your Lord? Have you seen your God? And the Imam answers, would I worship what I do not see, what I cannot see? Then we see that the Imam says to this individual says to the Imam, how did you see your God? Because this contradicts the educational background that he has, that God cannot be perceived. So the Imam corrects, he says, it's not what you are thinking. I did not see him, perceive him with sight. Rather, I perceived him with the knowledge within my heart. Brothers and sisters, unfortunately, this is one of the problems that we have in the Middle East, that the lights shut off unexpectedly. Give us a couple of moments, inshallah, and we'll start up the generator. Our brother over here is going to start up the generator. Sallallahu ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad.
It's okay. We have the nur from the angel still shining on you, Sheikh, now.
Barakallah feekum, barakallah feekum. My concern is that the internet might cut out before the generator kicks in. If it does, you gotta have to give me a couple of minutes for it to restart. I apologize. We were not expecting to shut off at this time.
No, of course.
Oh, they just started up the generator, so it'll be a couple of seconds here. Alhamdulillah, in every case, with all the beauty and all the serenity that you find here, there's still some trials and tribulations that you have to deal with. And I guess that's what makes it worthwhile, if you want to gain something, you have to give something up. And in this case, you have to give certain luxuries that you might have, certain amenities that you might have in order for you to receive the knowledge of Ahlul Bayt salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi.
But I'm sure, you know, we would happily give up all the 24-hour electricity we have here for the electricity that we don't, just to be near Imam Ali, you know?
In all honesty, say that's not even that bad. You know, you cope with it, you learn to live with it. You know, it gets quite what was the word? It gets annoying during the summer because the heat here is can be unbearable. You know, 50 degrees Celsius weather at sometimes, some days it's 48, 46 degree weather. So you know, it becomes a little difficult at times. However, all in all, it's quite what's the word? It's quite beautiful. You know, when you learn to live with it, you learn to live, you know, take the good and the bad together.
No, alhamdulillah, for sure.
Alhamdulillah. Seems like they're having a hard time with the generator. It's just our luck. If they have a
I
hard
think
time
we
with the
should
generator,
continue. We can see you very well. Your
you can't
note
see
is
me?
coming out.
Okay, perfect. Then let's continue. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد أفضل ما صليت وباركت وأنعمت على أحد من الأنبياء. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. The light has just come on. So continuing with our points. So we said that this man questioned Amir al-Mu'mineen. He told him, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, how is it that you can view your Lord? Why? Because his knowledge is still at the second level, the educated ideology. While Amir al-Mu'mineen is at the highest level, which is the concept of insight. So the Imam says to him, he says, Allah Jalla Jalaluhu cannot be perceived with sight, rather he is perceived through the truthfulness of faith, through the truthfulness of your faith, through your insight, essentially. And as he continues and says, Salawatullah wa salamu alayhi Amir al-Mu'mineen, he says, by God, if my veil is removed, it would not increase my certainty, meaning that he has reached a level of certainty where even removing the veil that overshadows our eyes or that covers our eyes from the truth of the universe, it would not increase his certainty. Now we move on to the second part. The second part is La ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lah. There is no other deity worthy of worship except He, Allah. He is unique and unparalleled. Now, what does this mean? What does La ilaha mean? And then what does illallah mean? And then we say wahdahu. So let's explain it bit by bit. La ilaha means that there is no God. Illallah means but God. Wahdahu, one. La sharika lah, without partners. What does this mean? What are we saying here? The first part is La ilaha. La ilaha means I disassociate any deity, any concept of godliness other than God himself. La ilaha means that I disassociate myself from any other God. Then we say illallah. Illallah means except for He, Allah. Now, when we look at the term Allah, what does Allah mean? We take it as the name of the Almighty. Sorry, go ahead, Sayyidina.
I've heard that it means, you know, to block off.
To block off?
Or to prevent. La illah.
Sorry, say that again from the beginning. You were cutting out there for a second.
To block off. Like the meaning of the name itself is to block off. The one who blocks off. La illah.
So let's break it apart, Sayyidina. Let's break it apart. First, the word ilah, which is alif, lam, ha. This means God. Any God. Any God. That's the word ilah. God with a small g. Not with a capital G, with a small g. Ilah. Allah, that first alif and lam that you add to it, okay, emphasizes which God? Emphasizes that He, Allah, the creator of the heavens and earth, the one who is above all, the only God. So Alif Lam here is added to the name. Of course, that's in some narrations, Sayyidina. That's not in all explanations. In some narrations. Now, when we want to translate this to English, what do? We add a capital G. And I believe Brother Yusuf Ali, our brother Yusuf Ali, explained this very well, very eloquently, in fact, in one of his videos, where he says with a capital G, we are referring to the one and true God, right? We give a capital G to names. Do we not in English, Sayyidina?
Yeah.
Therefore, Ahsantum, therefore, when we put a capital G in front of God, that is referring to the one and only God. The God of Adam, the God of Moses, the God of Abraham, the God of Noah, the God of Jesus, the God of the Prophet Muhammad, the God of the prophets, the God of monotheology that was sent to the prophets, that was delivered to mankind. Now, that is the term Allah. A side note here, Allah was worshipped by the Arabs previous to the prophets. The prophet did not introduce Allah to the Arabs. In fact, I've heard some people say, oh, the Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he came, all he did was consolidate all the gods into one. That's not true. The Arabs worshipped God, Allah, as the absolute God, and all other deities as branches to that other God. Is that clear, Sayyidina?
Yeah.
So, the Arabs worship the one and only God, the God of Ismail, of Ishmael. Keeping in mind that Quraysh, where the Prophet lived, they were the descendants, the sons of Ismail. Most of them, not all of them. Most of them were the descendants of Ismail. They worshipped, the sons of Ismail worshipped in a Hanafi way. Hanafi meaning monotheological way, the way of Ibrahim. In a monotheological way. They were not submit or not submit, sorry, that's the misuse of the term. They were not required to worship in the way of the sons of Isaac. So we know that Ibrahim had two sons, Ismail wa Ishaq. Ismail was the one that came with his mother, Hajar or Hagar in English, to Mecca. Isaac was the one that remained in the Euphrates, in Mesopotamia, and moved on to modern day Levant area, between Syria, Palestine, that area. However, Ibrahim was from the Mesopotamian city of Ur, if I recall correctly, which is a city here, in fact, in Iraq. If you guys are fortunate enough to come visit it, inshallah, I will take you there personally to show you the remains of that city. Nonetheless, Isaac, Jacob, and the Jacob who's Israel, and his sons worshipped in a certain way. Their descendants are the people that we now call the Jewish people, who are in factuality the Arabs' cousins. Ismail, who moved to modern day Mecca, to the Kaaba, who was buried in the Kaaba, and his mother is buried right next to the Kaaba in a place that is called Hijr Ismail. They were not bound to the worship of the Jews. They worshipped and they remained worshiping in the same way that Ibrahim worshipped, strictly monotheological way, a simple form of that concept, not like their cousins, the Jews. Nonetheless, the Arabs had multiple deities. Every tribe that came had its own deity, and they would bring that deity and they would place it in the Kaaba. However, the one and ultimate deity was Allah, as they call them. And that's why they added the alif and lam. They added the alif and lam, the first two letters, to exemplify, to exalt Allah from all the other gods. And then they began attributing daughters to God. They began attributing other deities to God. Nonetheless, that's not our point. Our point is, however, it was a polytheistic form of worship. They were, as we called, some of them were mushrikeen, some of them were kafirin. They did not worship in a monotheological way, except for one family, which was the direct descendant of Ismail, who were known at the time of the Prophet as Banu Hashim. Banu Hashim were the direct lineage to Ismail, and they continued worshiping in the same manner as Ismail until the Prophet Muhammad came, salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhi. When the Prophet Muhammad came, he reverted the people back to the proper worship of Allah within the Arabian Peninsula. That's why we see in the deliberation between the Prophet with the Christians and Jews, the Prophet always used the argument of monotheology with the Christians, the oneness of Allah, and the concept of the Trinity and how it does not fit, and other forms of that with the Jews. Nonetheless, continuing our point, so we said the first one is disassociation. La ilah is disassociating any God, any deity from Allah. Illallah is affirming, is the affirmation that there is the only one and the only one creator, Allah. Then the third part, which is wahdahu, one, single, alone, solitary. Use whatever definition that you can fit in here to identify that he is alone, that he is alone in the sense that there is nothing like him. In fact, our scholars, they say wahdahu. When you say one, do not confuse that one with the concept of with a numerical concept. You know what I mean by that, Sayyidina? Numerical concept?
No, explain a little more about what you mean by that.
So numerical concept. So when I say Sayyid Ali is one man, does that mean that there is a second or there isn't a second? That there isn't a second form of man? When I say Sayyid Ali is one man, that means that there is a second type of man, right?
Yeah.
In our case, it would be Khaled. In other cases, Sayyid Mustafa, correct? Sayyid so on, brother so on. We enter in the concept of numerical, we enter into the numerical concept, meaning that there's one man, two men, three men, four men, so on and so forth. In Arabic, it's a bit further than that because we have one singular, then we have a couple, then we have plural, which is three and more. However, when we say Allahu wahdahu, wahdahu does not enter the concept of, or that does not enter into a numerical concept. So it does not enter into the concept of a'dad, of first God, second God, third God. And so the Quran, Allah says, قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ. Say he is Allah, the one. Now here, the one here means that there is no second to him. Allahu Samad. Nonetheless, this one here does not mean that there is a second, that he is one, alone, unlike, unparalleled, and unique. Not that he is one from a numeric system. Is that clear now? Was that being clarified?
Yeah, so the distinction here is basically the use of the term ahad instead of wahid. That would really...
Santum. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu. Wahdahu meaning absolute, by himself, all alone. Okay? So wahid means one. That means that we have two. When you say ahad, you end the concept of numbers. Ahad means that he does not fall into the concept of numerical counting, or so on and so forth. Is that clear, or should we elaborate a bit more, Sayyidina?
No, that's pretty clear. It's...
Brothers and sisters who are tuning in, please do not hesitate and do not be shy. Share your questions, your concerns. Inshallah, if we don't have that time today, we will answer them in the upcoming lectures, inshallah. Then we move on, Sayyidina. If we have no questions right now, we will move on to the fourth part. We said, وحده لا شريك له. So the first part of كلمة الشهادة is أشهد, I bear witness. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله, that there is no deity. Disassociation. إلا الله, affirmation, affirming that there is only one deity. وحده, one and absolute. لا شريك له. لا شريك له, meaning what? Meaning he is without partners. Another disassociation. Now here we have two disassociation. This is not repetition. This is not Allah repeating himself over and over again. Astaghfirullah. This is what first disassociation is different from the second. The first disassociation is disassociating God from an equal. The second disassociation is disassociating God from a partner. Disassociating God from any lineage. Disassociating God from anything that is unbefitting of God. Such as what? Such as God having a son. Such as God having a daughter. Such as God having something that came after him or was created by him that could be as equal to him, which is a logical fallacy. However, this association from a partner. Is that clear, Sayyidina?
Yeah, that's very clear. You know, I've seen, like, when I've been studying, it's that Islam focuses more on the explanation of why there's only one God, not that there is a God, because the proof of that there is a God is so clear. And I think it's so important to know that there is only one God. So I think that's very, very clear and very important that you discuss this.
Absolutely, Sayyidina, absolutely. In fact, the Quran clearly states, is there doubt in Allah? Do you truly have doubt in Allah? He is the one who has brought the heavens and the earth into existence. Is there truly doubt in him? And when we ask our brothers and sisters, look within yourself. Don't tell me. At night, when you put your head on a pillow and you start thinking about your day, take a couple of minutes and review your idea, your faith, your intention, who you are, and see, is there room for doubt? Is there room where you can doubt Allah's existence on a basic plain level? Don't put physics into it, don't put chemistry into it, don't put math into it until you wake up in the morning. When you put your head on the pillow at night, between you and yourself, speak to your soul, speak to yourself, speak to your spirit, and question it. Does your soul and your spirit actually have doubt in Allah, or is it that your logic that is doubting Allah? When you wake up, okay, and your logic starts doubting Allah, then you start looking into the logical fallacies. Then you start looking into the logical principles. However, tonight, when you put your head on the pillow, question your spirit. Don't question your mind. Question your intention. Not your intention, your intrinsic spirit. Question your soul. Does your soul truly doubt Allah's existence? And in the morning when you wake up, then look into the logic of why you are questioning that. Based on what? What are you listening to? What are you studying? And what is the other hand? So as we know, there's always oppositions to every point of view. Every theory, every thesis, every point, everything in the world. There's always opposition, except for that which is safe and sound, such as 1 + 1 = 2. I don't think there's any opposition to 1 + 1 = 2. There is. I hope that you guys like me. It will be quite an enjoyable read. Nonetheless, question yourself, and then in the morning, when you look at the points that led you to why you doubt Allah exists, look at the points of those who do believe in Allah's existence. Look at both hands And don't look at it from a cynical point of view or an optimistical point of view. Look at it from an objective point of view. Look at it from an outsider looking in. So if you're a believer, or you're a non-believer, put all that aside and look at it through your spirit, first and foremost, and then come at it through the logical and philosophical point of view. Now, continuing or going back, we should say, we said that the first is to bear witness, and we said that bearing witness comes in 3 levels. I am cutting the lecture short today, Sayyidina, just because I don't want to move from this topic just yet. Inshallah, in the next lecture, we will go a bit further. We will dive a bit further into a different topic of Tawheed. However, right now, we just wanted to stick with this Shahada, with this Kalimat al-Shahada. So as we said, bearing witness, that has 3 levels. Identify which level you are in and how you can affirm that level that you are in and increase that level. Number 2, excuse me. Number 2 is the disassociation of any other deity. Number 3 is the affirmation or affirming that there is only one God, which is Allah. And of course, we said Allah, the Arabic term, God with a capital T or the capital G, sorry, in the English word, in the English language. Again, the fourth part was the Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad wahdahu, that he is absolute and he does not enter the concept of numbers, that he cannot be counted, that he's not one of many. And the 5th point, which was the disassociation from any other partners or anything like that. Hence, we read in the Quran, قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ اللَّهُ الصَّمَدُ لَمْ يَلِدْ وَلَمْ يُولَدْ. He was not begotten, nor can he begot. وَلَمْ يَكُنْ لَهُ كُفُوًا أَحَدٌ. And there is none that can compare or that is parallel to him. Now, in the ahadith from Ahlul Bayt and Nahjul Balagha, Amir al-Mu'mineen, he says that God is not hosted by a place, nor does he live and reside in a place that can be lonesome in his absence or that can gain happiness from his coming to them. Sayyidina, any questions before we continue?
We did have a question from a viewer, but it's kind of off topic, but we could probably take that later. If he's asking a question regarding eating food from people who are polytheists, is that permissible as compared to eating food from people who are of the Abrahamic faiths?
So you have to define the concept of polytheist. You have to define that concept. Are we talking about kafir in the sense that they do not believe? So, for example, I'm going to break it down very bluntly, if you don't mind, Sayyidina. And this might hurt some people's emotions, but nonetheless, it still needs to be said. Do you mind?
Go right ahead, Sheikh.
Barakallah people. As for our brothers, our Christians and our Jewish brothers, everything that they cook, if it is killed in a halal Islamic manner in the sense of meat, we eat. As for their fish or things that do not require to be killed, such as fish that have scales, we eat. People that are not of the book, okay? There is a give and take in that. However, that is an issue of jurisprudence, of fiqh. Inshallah, you know what, saying that this will take too long to answer. And like you said, it is off topic. So what we'll do is after we're done with Tawheed, we will address this issue directly. Ask for the individual that asked that question, forward my number on to them, and I can explain it to them privately in details, because it will take way too long.
Of course.
Inshallah. Sayyidina, there's a quote I wanted a narration I wanted to mention, if you allow me.
Of course, yeah.
Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq, salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhi, he narrates from his fathers, Who are his fathers? Muhammad al-Baqir, Ali Zain al-Abidin, Al-Hussein ibn Ali al-Shahid fi Karbala, wa Ali ibn Abi Talib. From his fathers to the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi. The Prophet quoted, Bismillah, the Prophet quoted sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi, خير العبادة قول لا إله إلا الله. The best of worship is the word La ilaha illallah. The best of worship. Then he says, قول لا إله قول إن لا إله إلا الله. There is no God but Allah. كلمة عظيمة. That is a great word. كريمة على الله. This word holds great favor with Allah. Azza wa Jal, Almighty is He. من قالها مخلصا. He who states this word sincerely. استوجب الجنة. استوجب الجنة. He who says this word, La ilaha illallah, sincerely. La ilaha illallah, kalimat al-shahada, sincerely, is deserving of the hereafter, of the heaven. Then it continues its narrations and says, however, this istujab, this deserving of the heaven, does not come generally. It comes specifically to those who are sincere. Then it says, for this sincerity to take place, it requires ikhlas, devotion. It requires, I want to look at the translations. It requires ikhlas. Ikhlas is devotion. However, Amir al-Mu'mineen says, وَكَمَالُ التَّوْحِيد. And the utmost of tawheed is ikhlas, is devotion. وَكَمَالُ الْإِخْلَاصِ لَهُ نَفْيُ الصِّفَاتِ عَنْهُ. And the utmost of devotion and sincerity is to remove any attributes from the Almighty Jalla Jalaluhu wa Azama Sha'nu.
Can you go more into that for a little bit? What do you mean by removing the attributes from Allah?
So we have attributes of the Almighty. Attributes such as the merciful, the beneficent. Inshallah, our next lecture will focus upon those points, those attributes of the Almighty. We have two types of attributes. There are more types, however, we usually focus on two types. First are the attributes of Allah. Then there are the attributes that we remove from Allah, such as what? Lying. Lying is an attribute that we remove from Allah. Weakness, it's an attribute that we remove from Allah. We call these the attributes of Jalal, okay? Which means that Allah is exalted above these negative attributes. Then we have attributes, okay, that attributes that we attribute to Allah, such as the All-Merciful, the All-Beneficent, the Mighty, the Exalted. These are attributes that we attribute to Him. These attributes elevate our understanding. Amir al-Mu'mineen, he says, when you come and you want to attribute Allah, when you want to describe Allah, do not describe Allah through the attributes that you understand. Exalt Allah above the attributes that you understand. Why? Because every attribute you describe is separate from you, from He who is being attributed to.
I see.
So yeah.
So it's referring to basically saying, like, for example, the example of Allah's mercy. His mercy is not, and I feel like the mercy itself is important because a lot of people think that, you know, sometimes that we can sin sometimes too much that Allah may not forgive us. They attribute the mercy of Allah's mercy as how a human would look at mercy. So like how me and you would look at mercy, but He is not just all merciful. He is mercy itself. And it's that's what you're trying to say, right? In that essence, like He's beyond the we can imagine itself.
In essence, what we're saying, what the Imam says, our understanding is false, because our understanding is limited to our comprehension of the world that we live in. This world, this three-dimensional world that we live in. So whatever you attribute to Allah, you're attributing based upon your understanding of it. right? So when I say Allah is powerful, what do I mean by powerful? That concept that I have understood within my mind to mean powerful. However, is that Allah? Answer is no, that's not Allah. Allah, the concept of the power that Allah has is beyond our understanding. Hence, when we describe Allah, we say Allahu Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. What does Subhanahu wa Ta'ala? We've already described it. We attribute it to Allah mercy and compassion. So why do we say Subhanahu wa Ta'ala? Subhanahu wa Ta'ala means that He is exalted and supreme, means that He is exalted above our description and He is supreme above our description. Because our description is wanting, our description is lacking of God's concept, of the true understanding of God. Hence, we describe Allah not through our understanding. We describe Allah through the attributes that He gave Himself in the Quran and through the words, through the tongue of the prophets and His Ahlul Bayt, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wa alihi, the previous prophets and the Ahlul Bayt, because they have a truer, not an absolute truth, a truer understanding of that concept. That's where we go back and we say they are at the third level of Shahada while we are at the first and second level of Shahada. In another narration, Sayyid Ali, Imam al-Sadiq, Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq, salawatullah wa salamuhu alayhi, he says, Man qala la ilaha illallah mukhlisan. He who says there's no deity but Allah sincerely, with sincerity. Dakhala Jannah, has entered the heavens. Wa ikhlasuhu, and that sincerity. What is that sincerity? If you were to ask the Imam, he answers. He answers a question that begs itself. And what is that sincerity? That you remove from Allah, or that you remove yourself, from anything that Allah has forbidden. You want sincerity? You want to say La ilaha illallah sincerely? Then remove yourself from anything that Allah has forbidden. Is that hadith clear?
Yeah. So you basically.
So how do I exemplify my sincerity? I exemplify my sincerity, my belief, by following Allah's commandments and removing myself from any place that Allah does not want to see me there. A man came and asked the Prophet, or the Imam, he said to him, what does it mean to be a believer? What does it mean to be pious? What does it mean to be devoted? He says being devoted means that Allah does not see you where He does not want you to be. And Allah does not find you missing from where He wants you to be. So Allah wants you to do khums, you do khums. Allah wants you to give sadaqah, you give sadaqah. Allah wants you to fast, you fast. Allah wants you to pray, you pray. Allah wants you to be truthful, you be truthful. Allah wants you to give, to stand up for your word. And when you give a person your word, to stand up to it and stay up to it, you do that, okay? That is what it means to be muttaqi, to be devoted. And it means that Allah does not find you where He does not want to see you. Allah does not want to see you at a nightclub. Allah does not want to see you smoking drugs, does not want to see you drinking alcohol, does not want to see you sitting in a bar, does not want to see you keeping bad company, does not want to see you keeping forbidden company, committing forbidden acts, lying, backbiting, being treacherous, being wicked, all of these. If you hold yourself to Allah's commandments, if you are where Allah wants to see you, and you refrain from where Allah does not want to see you, then you are considered devoted. Now that's a very tough concept to grasp. It's easy to speak of, but it's tough to grasp. It's only tough to grasp because we make it tough. In actuality, it's not difficult, Sayyidina. In actuality, it's not difficult to stop listening to music. But we make it tough because we have filled a gap within our life with music. Therefore, when I remove this gap, what happens? I find something missing. There's something that's missing there. But if I was to replace the gap of music with listening to the Quran, was listening to the lectures of Ahlul Bayt, then that no longer becomes an issue. You know, a lot of friends of mine who smoke cigarettes on a regular, when they want to try to quit smoking, what do? They don't simply stop smoking; they replace it with something else at first, such as eating sunflower seeds, such as chewing on a toothpick. One of my friends in Canada used to constantly chew on a toothpick. And when I would ask him why, he says, "Oh, you know what? It's the oral fixation of smoking. I don't want to smoke, but there's something that nags within me because of the habit that I've had of smoking." In fact, our Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq, salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi, he says, "Kullu shay'in 'ada, hatta al-ibadah." Everything you have in your life is a habit, including your worship. If you put yourself in the worship and in the habit of worship, and the habit of being truthful, and the habit of doing what is wajib upon you, what is obligatory upon you, it becomes a part of who you are. Therefore, when you leave it, it becomes difficult and you will return to it. And the narration, the Imam says, do your worship for 40 days, and it would be difficult for you to leave. Sorry, go ahead, Sayyid, I cut you off.
No, I would say, yeah, that's very true, because, it's people don't look at spirituality or faith itself as something that needs to be worked on sometimes. It's, like you mentioned the hadith about the 40 days. It's said that if you do any act for 40 days, it becomes a habit for you. So
absolutely.
If you're struggling for prayer,
No.
you're struggling for doing
after
acts.
habit, isn't it? After it becomes a habit, and you continue doing it, and then becomes a talent.
Exactly.
It becomes an intrinsic talent that you have, that you cannot be without, that you cannot separate from your life.
Yes, I would say for anyone who's trying to struggle to do anything, any act of faith, or just even prayer itself, to try following for 40 days straight and watch what happens. It's the number 40 is very important for a reason, and it would definitely help them. And really for yourself.
I usually advise my brothers and sisters, you know what, if you want to succeed in life, not that I'm successful, but I'm saying through our scholars, what we have learned, if you want to succeed in life, put goals for yourself, put major goals, midway goals, basically minor goals, and micro goals, right? So for example, my major goal is to become a scholar. Now, I cannot achieve that in 1 or 2 days. That takes a lifetime. So what do? That's my major goal. I put a smaller goal behind that. A smaller goal behind that is to memorize the Quran off heart. Then I put another one behind that. The one behind that is to memorize the tafsir of the Quran, so to be able to read it and understand what the Quran is speaking about. Then I make a micro goal for myself. Okay. Now each one of these, I have a daily schedule for myself. If you come, I have on my fridge, I have a daily schedule. In fact, I need to update it. I haven't updated it in a while. But basically, every day I have a schedule for myself. I wake up just before Salat, I perform my Salat, and then I don't sleep. I don't sleep right after Salat. I stay up until sunrise. During that time, I can do whatever I need to finish, whether it be homework, whether it be preparing for lectures, whether it be recitation of Quran, whether it be recitation of dua, whether it be dhikr of any kind, okay, which is about approximately an hour and a half, 2 hours, depending on where you live on earth, okay? It differs from one part to another. Then after that, I prepare for my for my school. Sometimes my school falls right after prayer, nonetheless. That's why I said I haven't updated it. Then I set goals for myself. So my goal, for example, Salatul Dhuhr is at 12:15. 12 o'clock, I need to be sitting there ready, prepared for Salatul Dhuhr, if time permits. Those 15 minutes, what do I do during those 15 minutes? Our scholars, what they would do is they would recite the Quran and recite the ziyarat previous to the salat. That way, you have prepared yourself spiritually and emotionally. That way, when you stand and you say Allahu Akbar, you live that moment. You live that moment of takbir. Then when you say Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, consider what you are saying. You are saying that I am standing here, I am speaking to you, O my Lord. Keeping in mind, brothers and sisters, our salat is a speech. I am addressing Allah. I say, in your name, O Allah, you are the merciful, the beneficent. Ihdina as-sirat al-mustaqim. Guide me to the right path. Ihdina as-sirat. I want you to guide me to the right path. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. It is you who I worship, and it is you who I seek for assistance, who I beseech in my life. Live those words. But you cannot live those words if you haven't prepared yourself. Is that clear, Sayyidina?
No, it is. Yeah, it's very, very clear. And it's very important, you know, because, and I'm glad you mentioned your routine, because a lot of people don't realize that spirituality itself, just like everything else, you know, people who want to get healthier and work out, they make a fitness plan. They want to study for an exam and they make a study plan. But this is the biggest exam of your life. Why do we not value it as such?
So I feel like you're taking a jab at me with the whole exercise thing. I'll say it.
Definitely not.
Jazakumullah.
I'm very glad that you mentioned this to us and your routine itself, and especially the preparation before prayer. That's very beautiful. You know, that's something that everyone should do. It's like a spiritual appetizer before like the whole course, you know, of, meeting God itself. You know, it's something that we should definitely be prepared for. And, thank you for sharing this. And we come the time that we have to end this. So
Inshallah.
I do want to see if we have any questions. If not, we will end it here. We will do this next time. Brother Mustafa has said that to announce that this will be Friday night at 8:30 p.m.
So next Friday night? Next Friday, the upcoming Friday.
Yes. So we will continue this at 8:30 p.m. But yes, if anyone has any questions, you can ask now. I did have one request for a Fatiha for Sadiq Hussein, and son of Rahmatullah. He passed away recently. And that's about it for now. If anyone has any questions, we'll take them. If not, Jazakallah, Sheikh. Thank you
Can we just end with the dua I said for Brother Hassan Ali?
Yes.
Inshallah.
Okay.
Inshallah. First and foremost, I ask Allah بحق الحسين الوجيه وجده وأبيه وأمه وأخيه, that he might show mercy upon our brother that has recently passed. I ask Allah that he is in the Firdaus al-A'la, accompanied by his Mawali, the Prophet Muhammad and Amir al-Mu'mineen and the Ahlul Bayt, inshallah. I ask for our brother Hassu. I ask Allah بحق Amir al-Mu'mineen. I ask Allah بحق Ali al-Karbala, the one who was ill in Karbala, that he might grant him shifa as soon as possible, inshallah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. أمن يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء 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 يا مجيب المضطر يا كاشف السوء اللهم اكشف عنا سوء يا الله. اللهم شاف مرضانا لا سيما السيد حسن يا الله. اللهم شاف كل مريض. اللهم رد كل أسير. اللهم ارحم كل مستشهد من المسلمين والمؤمنين يا الله. اللهم ترحم على أمواتنا. اللهم شاف مرضانا يا الله يا الله يا الله. وإلى أرواح المؤمنين والمؤمنات وأرواح من مات على الهدى والإيمان, رحم الله من قرأ الفاتحة مسبوقة بالصلاة على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. الحمد لله رب العالمين. اللهم شافي بحق الحسين.